Okay, so there we go. The question reads, the internal audit department of Lake Region Logistics Limited, a transport and distribution company operating in Kenya, is implementing data analytics techniques to strengthen internal controls. The company processes over 7,000 procurement transactions annually through its enterprise resource planning ERP system. The following information is provided for the last 5 financial years. As you can see, we have 2022, 23, 24, and 2025. So the ERP user controls, the systems are here. The users, we have user 1 all the way up to user 5. And these people are required to create a vendor, approve purchases order, record invoice, and authorize payment. As you can see, user 1 can be able to create a vendor and also be able to approve the purchase order. User 2 can't create a vendor, but can approve a purchase order as well as record an invoice. While user 3 can create a vendor, cannot approve the purchase, but can be able to record an invoice as well as authorize payment. Then user 4 can only record an invoice as well as authorize payment. User 5 can be able to create a vendor, can't approve an invoice, can't approve a purchase order, cannot also record an invoice, but can be able to authorize a payment. Additional information, number 1, the company procurement policies require segregation of duties between purchasing and payment approval. The company procurement policies require segregation of duties between purchasing and payment approval. Number 2, internal auditors suspect that weak controls may allow procurement fraud. Number 3, procurement transactions vary from 20,000 to 3 million. Number 4, the ERP system logs all user activity. Number 5, the audit committee wants to use data analytics to identify risk areas. While number 6, auditors intend to perform statistical sampling for detailed testing. Then required, part 1, they want us to perform trend analysis of revenue, purchases, and operate and present graphical analysis. They want us to perform a trend analysis of revenue, purchases and operating expenses, and present graphical analysis. So we can start with the very first one here. So I just want us to copy this question, and just copy this question, then tuje tuweke hapa chini because I want us to be solving it down here. So for those who are joining, I was saying that this is a question that was set in the previous sitting. Must have been question number 24. And a good number of people did find it hard. It's an audit question, so I want us to look at it. So the very first step that we need to do, so this we are doing is a solution. We are working on the solution. Let me just put a color there. So the very first thing that we need to do is to, because they've told us to perform trend analysis of revenue, purchases, and operating expenses, and present graphical analysis. So in this case, I want us to have our year first here. Our year. Can have our year. Then we can have our revenue. Can have our revenue. And this revenue, it is in shillings in thousands. Then you can have purchases. Purchases. Can have expenses. Expenses. They have talked about trend analysis. I taught you about trend analysis. So perform trend analysis of revenue, purchases, and operating expenses. So we're going to have our revenue growth rates, revenue growth rate. Then we can have our expenses, expenses growth rate, expense growth rate. We can also have purchase over revenue, purchase over revenue. We'll express it as a percentage. Then we can have expenses over revenue. Revenue can have expenses over revenue. So there we go. Just ensure that you follow the step that you are doing, that you are not left behind. So just ensure that you are following the steps so that you are not left behind. So when we talk about years, we had our years here. Can just come and copy them. They were starting from, yeah, these ones. These ones, you just copy, come and paste them here. Even revenue, just the way it is, revenue, purchases, and expenses, just come and pick it the way it is. Just come and pick them the way they are. These figures, come and pick them the way they are with your hand, paste them there. Now, how do we get our revenue growth rate? How do we get our revenue growth rate? Remember, when we talk about revenue growth rate, the very first year normally will be our base year. This one will be our base year. Then the second one will take equals to open bracket, revenue for the second year minus revenue for the first year. We close our bracket, then we divide by a revenue for the first year. Sawa. Then you press enter. Whatever you get, you express it as a percentage. We can have it to the nearest 2 decimal points that way. Sawa. Then this one we can drag it to the end. We can drag it to the end so that we have our growth rates being 14.7%, 10.26%, 13.95%. Sawa. That way. Then we come to expense. Expense growth rate. Again, this one we have our base year as such. Then tukija kwa expenses, expense growth rate. We were also supposed to have purchase growth rate. Please just insert a row here so that we have purchases growth rate. Purchases growth rate. Ensure you also have purchases hapo. Tumadhana na purchases ndio tuende kwa tusonge kwa expenses. This is base year. So kwa purchases tutasema equals to open bracket. The latest year minus the previous year, close your bracket, then you divide by the previous year. Then you press enter. Whatever you get, express it as a percentage, then you can drag it to the end. Remember here, we are not locking anything. Mali tunafaa lock, I'll let you know. We go to the expense, again we do the same, equals to open bracket. The current year's figure minus the previous year's figure, close your bracket, then you divide by the previous year's figure and press enter. Whatever you get, express it as a percentage to the nearest 2 decimal points. The nearest 2 decimal points. Tuko pamoja kufikia hapo? Are we together up to there, members? Are we together up to there? Confirm if we are moving on well. Confirm if we are moving on well. Confirm if we are moving on well. Now, the next one that we need to do purchases over revenue, but now we express it as a percentage. In this case, we're going to take equals to purchases over revenue. Purchases over revenue. Whatever we get, we express it as a percentage. Like, to the nearest 2 decimal points, we are simply getting the purchases ratio. So, then we go to expenses over revenue, which is equals to these expenses we divide by the revenue. Don't lock, just press enter. Express it as a percentage to the nearest 2 decimal points. Then you can do it. You can drag it to the end. You do that. You do that. Hopefully you're good up to that point. Are we together up to there? Tumefika hapo? Now, the next thing, remember they have told us to perform a trend analysis of revenue, purchases, and operating expenses and present a graphical analysis. So at this point, we also need to give feedback. What have you observed? What have you observed in terms of, let's say, for revenue? For revenue, what is the observation? If you look at revenue, the data for revenue, what is your observation? Look at the growth rates. How is the observation? How is the observation, or what is the observation? Yes, what do you see? Yes, what do you see? What do you see? If you're told now to analyze that data and give an explanation, what would you say? What would you say? Yes? What would you say? What can you be able to see? Hey, let's speak out, members. Speak out. Speak out. What do you see? If you're told to interpret that data, what would you say? So if you look at revenue, there's consistent growth. Revenue is consistently growing. So you can say there's consistently growing from 3,400 to what? 3,400 to 4,900. Sawa. There's a consistent growth from 3,400 all the way to 4,900. That is for the 4 years. That is for the 4 years. Okay, what we can do here, we can just come up here with a table and we say item observation, item then observation. Can have item then observation. Alafu, yeah, that way. Then we can talk about revenue. Under revenue, we'll say consistently growing from 3,400 to 4,900 in the 4th year. So, as you can see, the growth is very consistent from 3,400 to 3,900 to 43 to 49. So the growth is consistent. Now, let's move to purchases. Under purchases, what can you say about purchases? Can someone try to give us an idea? What can you say about purchases? What can you say about purchases? As an auditor, I want you to look at purchases in this perspective. If you look at purchases, it's growing from 1,800, 2,100, 2,500, and 3,200. But again, I want you to take a keen look at it's growing consistently, very good. But again, I want you to take a keen look at the growth rate here, purchases. As you can see, purchases is growing at 16.67%. In the 2nd year, the 3rd year is 19.05, and the 4th year it is 28.00%. If you look at these rates very keen, they are even higher than the revenue rates, meaning these people keep on buying stock, and this stock is not even matching what they are selling. Because by any chance, if there was a high demand, so that they keep on making a lot of purchases, then there could be a matching figure in terms of what? In terms of sales. But if you look in 2023, the growth rate here, revenue was 14.71%, but that one for the purchases was 16.67%, meaning the purchases was a bit higher. You look at 2024, the growth rate was 10.26% for revenue, but the one for purchases was 19.05%, which is extremely almost double. And then you look at 2025, the growth rate here revenue was 13.95%, but now that one for purchases is more than double. It's 28.00%. So from that, you can be able to gauge. As an auditor, you can say that is an audit red flag. That one becomes an audit query. Because if you people have realized that your purchases is not matching the demand, then why do you keep on buying more stocks in the business? So in this case, we'll say that there is faster growth in purchases than revenue. There is faster growth in purchases than revenue. There is faster growth. There is faster growth in purchases than revenue. Can just put a stock audit, a red flag. Remember, we are talking about audit. So you observe each and every item very keenly and be able to come up with an observation. So in this case, you can be able to realize that after doing what we call the trend analysis and be able to see the trend of the growth, then it's when we are realizing that the purchases is extremely high compared to what we are having in terms of what? In terms of revenue. Now, The next item we'll talk about is expenses. What can you observe under expenses? If you look at the figure from 900 to 1050, 1200 to 1450, and then their growth rate is 16.67, 14.29, 20.83. What would you say about that purchases? Sorry, that expenses. What would you say? I want you to look at it in the perspective of maybe revenue, purchases. As you can see, this one is not extremely that punitive to this particular investor, because again, if you look at the growth rate here, expenses, it's 16.67, but that one year revenue was 14.71%. In as much as purchases was extreme, what would you say about now the expenses? It is moderate, because again, if we go to 2024, its growth rate was 14.29%, while that one for revenue was 10.26%. But again, you realize that the one for purchase was extreme at 19.05%. So we can say that there was a moderate. There is what we call a moderate growth. Moderate growth. That is from what? From 900. There is moderate growth. Moderate growth. Moderate growth. That is from 900 to 1450 to 1450. This one you can as well have maybe the growth rate, the 4-year cumulative growth rate, so that you can have it and be able to compare to stimulate your explanation. But otherwise, that is what was required. Otherwise, that was what was required. Let's look at the question again. Perform a trend analysis of the revenue, purchases, and operating expenses, and present graphical analysis. So we need to present our graphical analysis. We will need to present our graphical analysis. So in this case, I'll want us to select the year. Then we select also the revenue, purchases, and expenses. Then we'll go to insert, line graph, title. We go to insert, then we click on line chart. So in this case, just come here. We are highlighting this data only, this one. Then you go to insert, chart, click on line chart. That is what we want. Click on line, that is what we want, this one. This is what we are interested in. Can someone give us a title for this? What would you give as a title? I remember I told you how to name the axis titles. So just give the axis titles. Una press ndani ya chat, then you come click on this plus, click on the second tab, that is axis titles, it will activate it. So hapa chini, we are talking about years. Then this side where we are talking about amount or shillings in thousands. Shillings in thousands, that way. Now, give me the name of the chart. Give me the name of the chart. We can call it revenue, purchases, and expenses trend 2025, 2022, 2025. Sawa sawa. So we can call it revenue trend. Revenue, purchases, expenses trend 2022, 2025. Just that way, and you're good to go. Just that way, and you're good to go. So this was how many marks? This was how many marks? How many marks were they? How many marks were they awarded? 5 marks. Imagine by doing that, you have your 5 marks. Imagine by doing that, then you'll be having your 5 marks. So when the examiner is looking at this question, when the examiner is looking at this question, what they'll do first, by you just coming up with your data, the one that we've just prepared, they'll give you 2 marks. They can give you 2 marks. This one, they'll give you 2 marks. You'll have your 2 marks in place. Then we have an observation here. This observation for the trend analysis, they can give you a mark. Here you'll have your mark. Now the chart will also be given some other 2 marks. 2 marks. So the total of it will be 5 marks. Are we together? Can you see now how you could be able to score these? This is how you could be able to score these marks very easily. Now, I want us to go to part B. I want us to go to part B. You see now how audit is very much enjoyable. See now how audit is very interesting. Audit sio theory peke yake, is also practical. Now we go to part B, whereby they're telling us analyze segregation of duties, conflicts among users, and identify risk combinations. And identify the risk combination. So there we go. There we go. We need to analyze how this is happening and be able to identify any risk combination and be able to identify if at all there is any risk combination. Before we move to that part B, can we confirm that we are together up to that point? Let me know if tuko pamoja kufikia hapo. Let me know if we are together kufikia hapo, so that we can be able to move. So that we be able to move. And if you are being left behind peer, it's also good to let mwalimu know. Higher. There we go. There we go. Now, okay. Now, what we'll need to do, we have to come up with the create a table here. We'll have our user. Then we now look at their roles. One should be able to create vendor, that is CV, create vendor, then approve purchase order PO, approve purchase order PO, then it is abbreviated in bracket by APO, close your bracket. Next is record invoice, record invoice in bracket RI. Next is authorize payment, authorize payment, that is AP in bracket AP. Next, we'll be able to see, so we are trying to test if at all someone will be able to create a vendor and be able to do it, to record the invoice. So plus RI. We check if there is a a conflict. So we can just write here, conflict, then we question. Sawa sawa. Then the next one, we'll be looking at it in this way. If this person is able to, hii ya kwanza, nataka ikue, kama this person can be able to create a vendor and authorize payment. Create vendor and authorize payment. Create vendor and authorize payment. So CV plus AP. That one is a red flag. Higher. Number two, we are seeking also to look at a point whereby can this person be able to approve a purchase order and at the same time be able to do it, be able to record an invoice, RI. If that is the case, then it's a conflict. It's a conflict. So we question that one. We question that one. Again, now there's a situation whereby someone can be able to do it. Someone can be able to create a vendor, then record an invoice. That one we question a conflict. Conflict. We question that one. Then we'll now be able to analyze all this and be able to see if there is a risk. So we say risk level. What is the risk level? Then finally, we'll be able to give our findings. Finally, we'll be able to give our findings. I want you to have that. Have that. Have that. I want you to have that. I'm trying to make sure that you can be able to see the titles. Huh? Or maybe this one I can just do a wrap text. Huh? Yeah, that way. I think that way it's a bit easier to become that way. Yeah. So that it doesn't really spread that long. Higher. Do we have our titles in place? Because I want us to proceed. Do we have our titles in place? So we had user one, that is, we had our user one, that was U0101. We had our U02, U03. How many users were they? How many users were they? As per our data, they were 5. Huh? Or you can just come and copy these. Huh? Just come and copy that, then you come and do it. And paste it here. And paste it there. Now, create vendor, approve, purchase order, record, and invoice. That is the same data that we have here. And authorize payment. So just come and copy the way it is. Just come and copy the way it is here. It is under the ERP user roles. So just copy it as it is. 2J, we want to paste it here. Paste it there. So we want now to perform our audit and be able to see, was there an issue whereby one was able to create a vendor and be able to also do it, authorize a payment? Because, you know, getting a vendor, that one is a clerical job. Creating a vendor, that one is a clerical job. It's like someone is generating a basic document, then someone else is supposed to authorize a payment, of which that one is regarded for the senior most employees or senior most persons in any organization. So in that case, if a senior person is the same person who is creating a vendor, who is initiating the process, then there is a problem. Sawa, because we understand that in audit, we believe that there is supposed to be a segregation of what? Segregation of duties. So we want to see if at all there was that issue of someone creating a vendor and at the same time doing what? At the same time, the same person was doing what? Was approving a payment. So by just looking at it, we can be able to tell that. But remember, this particular examiner is very much interested in your knowledge on things to do with the advanced Excel. So you don't really need to just look at it, then you can write that this one is okay, this one is not okay. Sawa. So that is why we want to use advanced Excel instead of just looking at the figures. Then you can be able to tell. But I'm very sure that by just looking at it, you can be able to also tell. So in this case, we will do this. We do this equals to, start with equals to, and equals to, and then you click on and, equals to and, equals to and, hope you're there, equals to and. So once you've done that, equals to and, we are going to refer to, I want you to go and refer to the approve PO. I want you to go and refer to approve PO. Sorry, not approve PO, should be create vendor, because we're looking at CV. Create vendor, go and click on create vendor, create vendor, create vendor. Hopefully we're there. Create vendor, equals to, in bracket, yes, equals to, not in bracket, but open speech mark, yes, close your speech mark, close your speech mark, comma, comma. Next is so we're talking about approve invoice. Okay, click on authorize payment. Click on authorize payment. Click on authorize payment, equals to, open speech mark, yes, close your speech mark, put comma, open speech mark, write conflict, close your speech mark, close your speech mark. Then you can press enter. It's bringing false. So I want you to write, just activate that formula. Then immediately after, this one has to be, the first one should be this capital letter, then the second one is small, higher. I want you to activate the formula. Then immediately after the equal sign, I want you to write, immediately after the equal sign, I want you to write if. I want you to write if, then click on that if that is appearing there. Then go, then you will go, you'll go to before the before that final bracket, put a comma, write okay, then press enter. Needs to close your bracket again. So it needs to grow. You have to close your bracket again until the last bracket inaonyesha kwamba it's black. Do that. Is it picking? Is it picking on your side? Press escape first. If it's not returning a figure, if it's not returning, press escape. Press escape. We will redo. Just press escape. We'll do it again. Let's redo. Equals to. Let's start with if. Equals to if. Click on it. Hold on a minute, there's a call coming in. So we are saying that to put equals to, we start with if. Equals to if. Logic one, if, then we write and, because we are combining the formulas. So logic one is going to be, because we're talking about now the create vendor, go and click on create vendor. It should be equals to, open the speech mark, then you write yes, close your speech mark, comma. Logic two, we are talking about now the authorize payment. So you click on authorize payment, should be equals to open speech mark. Yes, close your speech mark, there. Once you close your speech mark there, you close your bracket, then put a comma, open speech mark, write conflict. Once you've written conflict, you close your speech mark, then comma, open speech mark, write okay, then close your speech mark. In other words, we are trying to say that in a case whereby this person or this user was able to create a vendor and at the same time was able to authorize the payment, then it's a conflict. Otherwise, it's okay. Are we together? So in a case whereby I perform to only one duty in the two, then it's okay. Sawa sawa. But in a case whereby I may perform all the duties, then it becomes a conflict. So this one you can press. Okay, I was supposed to close my bracket. Press enter. Yeah. So in this case, this one is telling us that it's okay. So because it's telling us it's okay, even if you check, this person was only able to create a vendor, but was not able to authorize the payment. So this one can drag this formula down here. We get to see there's one that is giving us conflict, user 3. Why do you think it's giving us conflict? Why do you think user 3 is giving us conflict? Why do you think user 3 is giving us conflict? What have you seen? What can you be able to observe? I want you to check on create vendor and authorize payment. Why is it giving us conflict? Why is it giving us conflict? Why is it giving us conflict? Because this person was able to do it, to create vendor and also do authorize payments. So we move to, I want us to go to this other criteria that we are checking whether this person was able to approve a purchase order and at the same time was able to record an invoice. At the same time, this person was able to do it, to record an invoice. So we are looking at such a case. We want to look at such a case. So we are still using the same formula. We are still using the same formula. We are still using the same formula, but here you just have to be keen on where we are supposed to refer to. So there we go, equals to if. Click on if, then we write and. Click on and. Now, logic 1 will be approve purchase order. So go on to click on approve purchase order. Should be equals to open speech mark, then write yes, close speech marks, comma. The next one is a record invoice. So click on record invoice, should be equals to open speech mark, write yes, close speech mark, close speech mark, close speech mark. So once you've done that, we are supposed to close our bracket. You close your bracket, then put a comma. So in a case whereby this person is performing the two roles, then it's supposed to give us what we call conflict. So we open speech mark, then you write conflict, close your speech mark. Otherwise, that is comma. Otherwise, it's okay. Open speech mark, write okay, then close your speech mark, then close your bracket and do it, and press enter. This one is telling us it's okay because if you look at it, this person, user 1, was only able to approve the purchase order, but was not able to record the invoice. But now if we drag it downward, you'll find that there's one person ambaye akona conflict. This user 2 alikuwa able to approve the purchase order and again was able to record conflict. So that in that case, that one is alikuwa able to record the invoice. So that is why we are having a conflict. Now we go to a case whereby one person is creating a vendor and is also able to record an invoice. I want you to try and do that and let me know which user is giving a conflict, which user is performing both roles. I want you to do that and let me know. Try that. Give it a try. Give it a try. do that. Once you do for user 1, you just drag to the end. Who has been able to do that? Nani amefaulu? Yes, Eli, have you managed? Nani amefaulu kufanya hiyo? Which user? Both are okay. Is that what we are finding, members? Is that what we are finding? Ya kwamba all of them are okay. Haya. Let's do. There we go. It is a create vendor and do it. And record invoice. Create vendor and record invoice. So there we go. Equals to if and logic 1, we are saying create vendor. So we come here and create vendor being equals to what? We say equals to open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, comma, create vendor, then record invoice, record invoice. I click on record invoice equals to open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, then I close my bracket, comma, it should return. So in a case whereby this person is performing the two roles, it should return open speech mark, that is conflict, close speech mark, comma, open speech mark, okay, close speech mark, then I close my bracket and press enter. So if I do that, then I drag it to the end. There's one that is bringing me conflict. I want you to check. Ama nime pick formula wrong, confirm. I want you to check. You know, we are talking about create vendor. Let me highlight. Create vendor and the one for record invoice. Ukiangalia this user number 3, ali create vendor na akona rights za ku create vendor na pia akona rights za ku record invoice. Have you seen that? That is why it's returning conflict. Sawa sawa. That is why it's returning conflict. Maybe you might have messed somewhere in the formula. Check your formulas very well. Check your formulas very well. Once umefanya ya user 1, just drag it to the end. Sawa sawa. So ensure that you counter check. If it gives you a conflict or a K, check. Kama huyu mtu alikuwa able to perform only one duty. If this person was only able to perform one duty. Are we together? To perform one duty. Now I want us to do now the risk level. I want us now to see the risk level. So you had written 3 speech marks. Okay. Nice. Now if you correct that one. How do we determine this combination of roles? Now, Helen is asking, how do we determine this combination of roles? You know, as an auditor, you might have, you should be able to establish a case whereby there is a lack of segregation of duties, which could lead to maybe a fraudulent activity, which could lead to a fraudulent activity. So in a case whereby you've been given specific roles, you try to see, is there a specific person performing this particular role and another person performing this other role, and let's say person C performing a different role. So in this case, you know, we've been given how many roles? There are 4. Create vendor, approve purchase order, record invoice, then authorize payment. Basically, if you look at the first one and the last one, ya kwanza it's a clerical job. Ya mwisho it's a senior managerial position. So in this case, there is no way mtu anafanya a clerical job ndio pia ana authorize payment. That one you have to have in your mind. Sawa. Ni kama yule mtu mwenye ana prepare payroll. Is it the same person who will approve that payroll? It can't be. Are we together? The person who is approving and the person who is preparing, they are 2 different people. Higher. In terms of recording an invoice, I want you to take it in a case whereby this one now is an accountant, let's say a payable accountant or a receivable accountant. That one should again be different because this one is a middle level officer in that particular business. This one is a middle level officer in this particular organization. So this person should also not have the rights to do it, the rights to create a vendor. Because if this one person can be able to create a vendor, then they can be able to defraud that particular company. Because, you know, they can just record an invoice of which maybe that vendor did not exist. Sawa. And the same person who is creating an invoice or recording an invoice should not be the same person who is approving purchase orders, because at the end of the day, you'll find that this person can be able to interfere with this data. Sawa. So, you know, as an auditor, you have to be skeptical. You should observe what we call professional skepticism. Everything has to be approached with a questioning mind, in a way that, how come it is you who created this vendor and it's you who is authorizing the payment? How come it is you who is approving the purchase orders? And again, you are the one who is doing what? Who is recording the invoices. So the one that has least risk here, somebody approving the purchase order and again authorizing the payment. Somehow those are officers within the same rank, because wako approve the purchase order semeni the senior procurement manager, and now the one to authorize the payment is now the senior finance manager. So in that case, they could be within the same rank, but again, you can still perform for that one. In a case whereby that particular company or organization is very much established in that they have a specific department for matters to do with procurement, and they have another department for matters to do with the finance and accounting. So you can also do that one. Now, you know, in this case, the examiner was not specific. So it could just come up with any two conflicts or even three. In this case, we went ahead to come up with three. Now, we need to see the risk level. We need to see the risk level. We need to see the risk level. Now, on matters to do with risk, now, if you observe where there's been conflict, so in this case, we are talking about risk being either low, medium, or high. As an auditor, you have to check on that. You have to check on that, on matters to do with the risk. You have to advise whether the risk is low, the risk is high, or if it is a medium, or if it is medium. So I want you to, just by looking with your eyes, if you look at those users, which one do you think is a threat to the company? Yule, I want you to advise, gani mwenye yako na risk iko high, which one has medium, and which one has low risk, based on zile roles ambazo umepewa. Either kuna yule imetritania okay, another one imeleta conflict hivyo. I want you to observe that and advise. I want you to observe that and advise. I want you to observe that and advise. Just look at it, because you've got an option of either looking at it and advise, or again, you can come up with an advanced Excel formula of which you can be able to advise. Yes, check that one. Which one and which one? There we go. I can see. Let's start with who? I can see Benny saying that user number 3, the risk is very high. User number 3, the risk is very high. Then I can see, well, Helen is saying user number 3 is high risk due to his, where is that one for? Let me see. User number 2 and 5, medium risk. That is Helen. User number 2, medium risk. 2 and 5. 2 and 5, medium risk. Then 3 is very high. Then Ben is saying user number 2. In user number 5, the risk is moderate. Number 2, 5, it's moderate. Then Kelly is saying user number 1 and 4, the risk is low. Number 1 and 4, the risk is low. Yes, I can see. Yeah. Any other observation? Any other observation? Yeah. I want us to now let's look at it. You know, when we look at let's start with the user number 1 and take it this way. A person who can be able to start the process and has the rights to the very final stages, then that person is a threat to the company. Because this person at their own free time, they can be able to initiate the process and fast track the medium roles, then be able, because anajua huko mbele ni yeye ndiye anangojea kufanya nini? Authorize. So in a case whereby kuna mtu mwenye anaweza fanya nini? Kuna mtu mwenye anaweza initiate, anaweza create the vendor and be able to authorize the payment, then that risk is very high. In such a case, that risk is very high. That is user number what? That is user number? That is user number what? That is user number what? In that case, the risk is very high. Number 1, very high risk. Connie saying number 1, very high risk. Connie, I want to check in the perspective. Okay, nataka uangalie hapo kwa conflicts. For conflicts. You know, number one hana hakuna mahali penye kuna duplication of roles. Yeye ni create tu. Okay, I've seen. Unasema, yeah. You are right, Connie, you are right. Because I can see it's only that we did not match the approve and the create invoice. But again, if we match that one, then user number 1 pia atakuwa at high risk. I get your logic. Now, using for what we've just tested, using what we've tested, user number 1 will be clean. But now user number 3 hawezi epuka. Kwa sababu this person can initiate the process. So ako both in the two departments. Ako kwa procurement na ako kwa finance. So huyu mtu is a threat to the company. Such a guy can be able to sink our company. Now, what else? Now, I want us to use an advanced Excel formula to come up with this. I want us to use an advanced Excel formula to come up with these. Sawa. I want us to use an advanced Excel formula to come up with these. Yeah. Do you have an idea on which advanced Excel formula we are supposed to use? Yes? Hakuna mtu ako na hiyo advanced Excel formula ambayo anashuku tunafaa tutumie? Haya, ni sawa tu. Now, that's why we are in class. That is why we are in class. We are here to learn. Okay. Now, there we go. Pale kwa box ya risk level, put equals to. equals to if, equals to if, click on if, write and, click on and, equals to if, then you write and. Now, this case, I want you to click on create vendor, put equals, open speech mark, yes, open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, comma, then go and click on authorize payment. Go and click on authorize payment. So we are trying to say, if this person can be able to create a vendor, so he or she is in the procurement department and be able to authorize payment, is also in finance department, then that person is a threat. So authorize payment equals to open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, close your bracket, put a comma, open speech mark, then write high. That one is high risk. Then close your speech mark. Close your speech mark. So in this case, because we've chosen to talk in the perspective of departments, this person is in the procurement department, can be able to create vendor. And again, in the finance department, they can be able to finalize the payment. Then in that case, if a person is found being able to perform these duties, then the risk in this particular company is very high. Now, once you've done that, I want you to put a comma, write if, open bracket, or, write or, click on or. Sorry, you wrote if, then you click on if, then you write or, you click on or, then you write and, click on and. Now here we want to test if this person can be able to approve a purchase order. So click on approve purchase order. The result user one, put equals to, write open speech mark, write yes, close speech mark, comma. Next is this person can be able to approve an invoice, approve a purchase order, and also be able to do it to record an invoice. So we click on invoice, record invoice, equals to open speech mark, yes, has to be open speech mark, yes, close speech mark. Then you do it. Once you've done that, you close your bracket, right? Then put a comma, write and, tukiwa hapo, I want you to do it. I want you to click on create vendor. Go and click on create vendor, equals to open speech mark, write yes, close speech mark, comma, go and click on record invoice. Record invoice, put an equal sign, open speech mark, yes, close speech mark, open speech mark, yes, close speech mark. Then you close your bracket twice. Close your bracket twice. Then put a comma, open speech mark, write medium, close speech mark, comma, open speech mark, write low, close speech mark, then close your bracket. Then close your bracket twice. Your bracket ya mwisho inafaa ikuwe black. Then you can press enter. Then you can press enter. So having done that, you can drag it to the end. Kuna wale inaleta high, kuna wale inaleta medium. Kuna wale inaleta high, kuna wale inaleta medium. Why do you think user 1 inaleta low? Why do you think user 1 inaleta low? Okay, mmefaulu kufika hapo? Have we managed to do it up to that point? I understand that formula is very long. I understand that formula is very long. But again, once you had done these others, it was just a matter of observation. But it's also good that you get to learn the advanced formula that we are using. Why do you think the first one is saying low? Or what could have been your observation? That roles are well segregated. So that is what you record under the findings. Sawa sawa. That is how you will give the feedback. That's the feedback that has to be put under findings. Now, why do you think the second one is giving us second one risk level natuambia ni medium? Why do you think it's giving us that way? Yes. It's medium because this person, if you look at it, this person can be able to approve a purchase order and record an invoice. So, in this case, we can conclude that this person, in one way or another, can be able to do it. This person can be able to approve and falsify an invoice. This person can be able to approve, if so long as to approve a purchase order and is a falsify that particular invoice so that they can be able to get money. So that is why we are putting that that risk as a medium. Now, tell me why user number 3 risk yake iko very high. User number 3. Why? Why do you think the risk is very high? Because this person can be able to create a vendor. At the same time, they can be able to record an invoice. Then this person can be able to authorize a payment. So this person is doing all the clerical job, and again at the helm, whereby they can be able to finalize the payment. So in that case, if this one person chooses to sink the company, then the risk is very high because they have the capabilities. Now, user number 4 has low. Reason? This person can be able to record an invoice and authorize payment. So in that case, they can be able to record an invoice and also be able to authorize payment. But again, you realize that creating a vendor and approving a purchase order is a duty that doesn't really lie in their hands. So in this case, if they collude with some other officers in these other departments, then they could pose a risk. Otherwise, if those people from other departments don't cooperate, then this person will not be able to pose any threat to the company. That is why we are putting the risk to be low. What about user number 5? User number 5. Ukiangalia user number 5, they can be able to create vendor and authorize payment. So in that case, this person can be able to create ghost vendors and pay them. They can be able to create ghost vendors and do it and pay them. So I want you to, during your own free time, you'll be able to write the findings. The one that I'm just explaining are the ones that are supposed to be put there. Sawa sawa. So let's see. They're telling us to recommend an improvements to strengthen the procurement internal controls. What would you recommend? What would you recommend? Wewe kama auditor, what would you recommend? Yes. Wewe kama auditor, what would you recommend? What would you recommend? You as an auditor, what do you think should be the recommendation? What will be the recommendation? What would you recommend as an auditor? You know, when you talk about an auditor, there are things that should come in your mind. An auditor must have a criteria that they are using to audit. That criteria, that auditor should also be able to do it, to find out what was the case or what is the case and what did it cause. What did it cause? And also be able to recommend, make recommendations. So what would you recommend? Connie is saying review on the roles of high-risk users. Ben is saying segregation of duties. Very good, very good, very good. Hi, those are the answers that were actually needed here. So in this case, you know, these people, for them, they believe they have segregated the duties. But again, they have not fully done so. So we say enforce strict segregation of duties. Enforce strict segregation of duties. How will you do this? How will we do this? We ensure no user should have more than one of, ensure no user has more than one of. So among the list ambayo nataka kuweka hapa ni zile ambazo if one person has can be able to control the two, then they can be able to manage the company. So one of create vendor, approve purchase order, record invoice, as well as authorize payment. Authorize payments. So in this case, we have to advise the management to immediately revoke user number 3 combined rights. So we have to advise the management So we can say management to immediately revoke user 3 combined rights. Because if we come back here, user number 3 akona rights za who creates vendor, akona rights za record invoice, na akona rights za authorize payment. So that person is very, very risky to this company. Another one is to implement, number 2, implement ERP role-based access control. Implement ERP role-based ERP role-based access controls. How do we do that? How can we be able to do that? We do what we call, we redesign the ERP roles. Redesign ERP roles so that each functional area has discrete, non-overlapping permissions. Redesign ERP roles so that each functional area has discrete, non-overlapping permissions. In other words, we are saying that we need to enable system level preventive controls. Enable system level preventive controls. So that the system blocks conflicting roles assignment. Thus, the system should be able to block conflicting role assignment. Sawa. So in this case, kama mtu ni wa procurement afanye kazi za procurement, kama mtu ni wa finance abaki anafanya vitu za finance. So in that case, in a case whereby anakuwa assigned roles that are overlapping, then the system should be able to block such conflicting assignment of roles. Sawa. Any other? We need to have at least 3. Are we together up to there? Now let's see the third one. We can also establish continuous transaction monitoring. We can also establish continuous transaction monitoring. That is number 3. Number 3, establish continuous transaction monitoring. Establish continuous transaction monitoring. In this case, I'm simply saying that you can use data analytics such as Benford law. You remember we talked about Benford law, duplicate payment detection, vendor master change reports to automatically flag unusual procurement patterns, review the ERP logs weekly, trend alert, purchase stock revenue ratio has grown from 52.9% to 63. That one is more of self-explanatory. So just ensure that you establish continuous transaction monitoring, in that you can be able to see if someone has those conflicting roles. If someone has those conflicting roles. Now let's look at the very last part of the question that demonstrate how audit sampling could be performed on procurement transaction using Microsoft Excel. Higher. This one is what we just learned yesterday. Hapa ni mambo ambayo tulisoma tu jana. Demonstrate how audit sampling could be performed on procurement transactions using Microsoft Excel tools. Using Microsoft Excel tools. What do you think? Give an idea. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? You know, here, they simply wanted you to come up with the steps, either for random sampling or systematic sampling. Just as simple as that, because they've told us to demonstrate how audit sampling could be performed on procurement transactions using Microsoft Excel tools. These steps I gave you yesterday. Sawa sawa. So number one, you need to prepare your data. You need to prepare your data. Once you've prepared your data, you can come up with the population of that particular data. You can come up with the population of that particular data and also suggest a sample size. Once you've suggested a sample size, in a case whereby you are using random sampling technique, then number one, you need to assign random numbers using the formula rand between. Using the formula rand between. Higher. Let me just list it. Random sampling steps. Random sampling steps. We talk about number one, prepare your data. Your data. Number two, come up with the population and choose appropriate sample size. Then number three is what? Number three is what? What did we say? Number three, you assign random numbers. Assign random numbers using the formula rand equals to rand. You open your bracket, then you close it. Then you'll have to do what? You'll just press enter. Sawa sawa. That one. Then number four, you need to copy. Number four, you have to autofill the numbers, the random numbers to every transaction. Then number five, what will you do? Number five, you just have to copy and paste as values to stop the random numbers from changing. These steps are more detailed because I'm trying to give it in a way that you can be able to just follow each and every step, even those steps that were not even meant to be documented. So once you've done that, number six, highlight the whole data Then you unsort based on random numbers, either from largest to smallest or smallest the largest. Having done that, you can now do what? You can now pick your sample, because after you've rearranged your data either in ascending or descending order, now you can be able to pick your sample and perform what you are supposed to perform. Are we together up to there? Are we together up to there? Now, what about now for the systematics? You know, someone is telling me, mwalimu mimi hiyo ya random sampling singetumia, ningetumia systematic. In this case, number one, you have to prepare your data. Number two, come up with the population. Come up with the population. Mambo ya population tulisema, you use what? You use count. You count population and appropriate sample size. Number three, get the sampling interval. Interval, we call it K. Get the sampling interval, we call that sampling interval K. Number four, step number four is what? Number four, we generate start point, generate start point. How do we generate start point? We use the formula equals to rand between, open your bracket and close your bracket. Sorry, when you open your bracket, it will need you to have first point, and last point. Your last point in that case is the sampling interval, the K, sawa sawa, the sampling interval. Now, number five step here is you generate the second point, generate second point. Second point na generatiwa aje? Use the formula equals to MOD. Equals to MOD. MOD, you need to feed the number, divisor, close your bracket, then you take a plus 1. So for the number in this case, we are simply talking about the first point. Then the divisor, you click on the what? You click on the sampling interval. Then you close your bracket and put plus 1. Once you've done that, number 6, you copy and paste the values so that they stop changing. Then lastly, number 7, they stop changing. Then number 7, we do what? Highlight the titles and introduce filters and introduce filters. Number 9, click on the filter under systematic numbers and deselect all numbers and select only one systematic number and press OK and press OK to get your sample to be audited. Only that way. So that is it. Imagine that is what the only thing that was required to be done, and you could have your marks. So this last part ilikuwa na marks ngapi? 6. So most students could go for random sampling because it was the easiest. Because this random sampling now, you could get marks in that. With the random sampling, you could get, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So every tick was a mark to a maximum of 6 marks. To a maximum of 6 marks. So and again here you could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to a maximum of 6 marks. To a maximum of 6 marks. Only that way, and you're good to go. So that is it. Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question up to there? Okay, if there is no question, we can stop there. We meet again next time.